And thank you very much for joining us here on PM Express. My guest is a man who was in the news quite a lot because at the time he was the majority leader. He is still actually the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs. And in the last 1 week, a few things had happened in Parliament that were unprecedented. It's never happened before. We were on the precipice of a constitutional crisis. Have we really averted that crisis, or we just kicked the can down the road? I'm delighted to say that I've been joined for PM Express tonight by Osechi Mensah. Thank you very much, sir, for your time here on PM Express.
Thank you for having me.
The last time I interviewed you, you were the majority leader. You're no longer the majority leader. You're now still the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs. I'm curious, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Let me say that it was going to be difficult to combine the position of majority leader with the new role that had been bestowed on me as the chairman of the manifesto committee. And the president, in discussing the exit with me, mentioned that he, together with the vice president then and the presidential candidate of the MPP, had agreed that I should lead the crafting of the manifesto. And he thought it was going to be a difficult job combining the two. So it's one of the reasons that he assigned. But let me say that immediately after the exit, I plunged into the crafting of the manifesto together with my other compatriots belonging to the various sectors that attained what we attained and unveiled the manifesto at the time that it was unveiled in Takrady. So I've been busy, and thereafter, when I got myself involved in the campaign for a while, the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association is in dire need of some services, and they thought that I'm better placed to do that for them. The Africa region, I wanted to talk about some constitutional amendments of the association's constitution, and then they entrusted a responsibility to me. So I had been working on that as well. And recently, then we had to have the Africa Region Commonwealth Parliamentary Association meeting in Tanzania. So I had to go and explain matters out to them, to colleagues, and elicit their buy-in into what I was doing. And I think they applauded the efforts. And then the Commonwealth International, the Secretariat, the Secretary General and the Deputy Secretary General also came there. They are looking at effecting amendments to the primary constitution of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. Because we're going to have a meeting in Sydney, Australia, to cement the various amendments. So we wanted to know my own perspectives, which I've shared with them. And so that is where we are. And I think thereafter, I also had to be at the World Assembly of Parliaments called the IPU, the Interparliamentary Union. Indeed, I was to have gone there with the speaker, but he pulled out at last minute and requested that I should go and hold the fort for him, given what I myself was required to do, to also combine his own with mine and do the presentation, 2 presentations there for the Parliament of Ghana, which is what kept me away from Parliament last week. I returned last Friday and had to go to Kumasi. I was programmed to come yesterday morning. Today is Wednesday. I was programmed to be here yesterday morning to join my colleagues in Parliament. Unfortunately, when I went to Kumasi, I had an affliction. I lost my auntie, my mother's only surviving sister, junior sister. He transitioned, so I had to be there with my cousins, dealing with what sorts to be done. At the same time, the governing board of the AIDS Commission, which I provide oversight for as the oversight minister, I had, agreed with them that we should have our meeting at Aliza yesterday and today. Because of what happened, I couldn't be there. The Chief of Staff, Professor Jambafo, the other sector ministers, health, finance, and local government, and others were all there. And unfortunately, the transitioning of my aunt kept me away. But this morning when I came, I had to be with them to go through the matters relating to the funding of the AIDS program and so on. So we just finished.
You've been very busy.
Well,
but here's the thing though, for 16 years, almost 16 years, all you knew was leadership in Parliament. You were either on the side of the minority as a leader, or just before you now moved into full-time, all the things that you just described, the majority leader. Have you missed it?
Well,
considering that you've done it for 16 years close to.
Yes, being in leadership even extends beyond the 16 years, because don't forget that when we came first in 1997, G.H. Mensah appointed me as the secretary to the minority caucus. At the time, I was close to them, even though it was not an official position. But I was also a deputy spokesperson on lands and forestry, deputy on works and housing, deputy on youth and sports. I was the only one who had those responsibilities. And adding that to the secretaryship was quite enormous assignment that was bestowed on me.
2 decades more.
And into President Kufuor's administration, then I started off as deputy whip, climbed up to be the chief whip, and then later on as the deputy majority leader. So I've been in leadership, as you said, and then when we lost power, I became the minority leader for 8 years, and now as majority leader for 7 years plus. So
you miss it?
One would say it's unprecedented. Yes and no. I miss it in the sense that sometimes a few things happen. For instance, when I was involved in the crafting of the manifesto, then they were doing the bill on the national service. They ran into some turbulence. The Honorable Osewusu was presiding and invited them to call me to come and service some course. So I had to leave my colleagues, come to Parliament for about 1 hour, sit down with them, straighten matters, and then went back. So sometimes these things you miss, that okay, maybe if I have been here, these things wouldn't happen the way they are happening. So you miss being part of the group to straighten the path for us. But the other side is that, but for the president, 2020, I wouldn't have contested, because I realized that it was being in leadership all this while was having a considerable toll on me, my physique, and also, taking me away from my family. I wasn't having quality life with my family, and so my wife was always protesting. I think she would find joy in me not being part of the mainstream politics. I'm talking about being in Parliament. Well, it doesn't mean that I would exit partisan politics. I'll be there, but of course I'm not going to be in Parliament.
Have you seen anything like what we've witnessed in the last 1 week? Speaker declaring seats vacant, 4 of them. Supreme Court intervenes with a ruling that stays his hand. Then there was tension because nobody knows what the Speaker's reaction to the Supreme Court was going to be, but obviously because of his own track record on matters when the courts, he sees it, tries to interfere in the work of Parliament. He's been very vocal in shutting that down. There were a lot of talk about what to do to try and move us from the brink of constitutional crisis. In your time, this is close to 3 decades of being in Parliament and being in the leadership. Have you seen anything like this before?
Well, in terms of the declaration of seats vacant, the sheer numbers, we haven't seen that before. But I remember 2020,
yes.
Professor Okoye, at the instance of the party, writing to him to expel the Honorable
Andy
Sema. He then proceeding to say that he construed that to mean that his seat had become vacant. I, as a then majority leader, in conclave, I told him I disagreed with him.
So in 2020? You privately told
in conclave,
Professor Michael Quay.
Yes.
And
And
you
the Honorable
disagreed with it.
Bagbin, the current speaker, was the second deputy speaker. That's my worry. When I said so to Professor Quay, he agreed with me that no, Professor Quay would be wrong.
So Alban Bagbin,
Yes.
who was the second deputy speaker
Yes.
in 2020, agreed with you
Yes.
that Michael Quay was wrong to declare Andesiama's seat for Fomena vacant.
Yes. And my reason for saying that was that I did not consider a declaration of intent into the next succeeding parliament as amounting to exiting his party. I didn't. And then when the party wrote that they had expelled him from the party, or he had automatically exited the party, I also felt that that did not amount to the person resigning from the party or resigning from parliament. There had been a precedent, and the precedent was what happened in 1993 involving the then whip for the NDC, Alhaji B.A. Fuseni of Tamale Central, who was a Dagomba man, his imbroglio with the Honorable Moses Mabemba, the Member of Parliament for Saboba, in the lead up to the restoration of constitutionalism. There had been this conflict over land between the Konkombas and the Numbers, you remember?
Yes.
And, well, it experienced some ups and downs, some hotness and coolness. Then they came to Parliament in 1993, and I think the matter came up for some discussion. And Alhaji B.A. Fuseni then made a statement that if the Konkombas, I'm just paraphrasing, if the Konkombas did not stop what they were doing, he was reminding them that there were squatters on Dagomba lands. If they didn't stop, the Dagombas would flush them out of that land because they are strangers. Moses, a Konkoma man, got offended and said to him that the Konkomas are like Israelis. If you kill one, we will kill 100 of your folk. If we kill 100, we'll kill 10,000. That was Moses. That really raised the temperature in Parliament. And Moses was prevailed upon to apologize to Alhaji B.A. Fuseni. He said he wasn't going to apologize because the language used by Alhaji Fuseni was very offensive to his ethnic group. And if he was not made to withdraw, he wasn't going to withdraw either. And then it brought in the party leadership, and then meeting over the matter. They then decided to expel Moses Mabemba for insubordination, which they did and wrote. Obeda Samoa, the then Attorney General with the party as well, intervened to say that no, yes, the party may want to jettison the man, but if you did, you cannot foist that on Parliament to cause his exit from Parliament, because that is not what the Constitution provides. So that stayed the hand of the NDC, and eventually they found a way to get the two of them to smoke.
So even for the NDC then, in that year,
yes,
their position that as expressed by their own Attorney General conflicts
absolutely
with the current position.
Absolutely. And at the time, the current speaker was the chairman of the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee. He agreed with what the party had done, so what Obeda Samoa had advised.
So on two occasions.
Yes, he agreed.
This is 1993.
This is 1993.
A year after the return to constitutional
yes.
rule.
So when
on two occasions, 1993, and then in 2020,
yes,
Alban Bagbin took the side that you cannot vacate the seats of current MPs just because they had shifted from, they had declared an intention to contest as independent candidates.
So when I disagreed with
or been expelled for the party.
When I disagreed with Professor Quay, I buttressed my case with my argument with what had happened in 1993. And as I said, St. Alban agreed with me. I'm referring to him.
Why St. Alban?
Oh, I mean, oftentimes I affectionately refer to him.
And his response to you when you say that would be?
Oh, I mean, he takes it in his stride. Right.
But he fundamentally, more importantly, he agreed with you.
He agreed with me. So we left it. And that is why I wonder how come, he makes this U-turn on this.
How then do you assess that? You called it a U-turn. How did you assess that on 2 occasions in the Fourth Republic, he's taking a different position privately? At least this is the first time I'm hearing that he's done this. But now when he has the opportunity as a speaker with a gavel, he goes a completely different direction.
Well, it is said that it's only a madman who cannot change his mind. And who knows? Maybe he has had some other pieces of advice to the contrary that it could be done. That is why he's done what he's done. But
double standards?
Well, would you call that double standards? If maybe because I'm not privy to whatever advice that he had, which occasioned his new stance, I will not call it double standards. All that I would say is that he has changed his original position. But to say that it's double standards, I wouldn't use those words.
A position that he's confessed, at least, over a period of 1993 to 2020.
Yes.
That's a long period, because if he expressed in 1993 and in 2020 he had not changed that, in 3 years, let's say 4 years, all of a sudden he changes that position when he now has power, full power as a speaker.
The Supreme Court.
What does it say about him, though?
The Supreme Court, they are the ultimate, right? They make rulings in respect of the Constitution, and we all have to capitulate before them. But even them, after they have come up with a determination, maybe on appeal they could change their minds.
They are talking about the institution called the Supreme Court.
It's made up of individuals.
True, but the individuals
could change their minds.
In the Supreme Court
yes.
context.
Yes, in the individuals.
Rarely does, though.
I'm saying.
On the same subject.
Yes, I'm saying that the individuals, upon
the court may change his mind.
The court is made up of individuals.
I get it, but the
yes.
individuals
otherwise,
on the same subject, on the same question,
yes.
rarely do change your minds.
Look, if in the face of some other evidence that had not come before them, right, and then they weigh the two and realize that, no, I listened to this or I had this in mind, and on balance of reasoning, I think I was wrong. They are human beings. I'm just saying that Alban is a human being after all. So if in the face of some other advice that he might have received, I don't know, I'm just conjecturing, he thinks that now he should change his mind. As I'm saying, I will not describe it as double standards. I will just say that, well, as far as I'm concerned, he's changed his mind on this, which is only human.
But
so let me give that to him.
You disagree with him now?
I disagree with him.
Have you told him that?
Well, I tried to reach him because upon my return, I needed to even call him back to brief him about what had happened in Geneva. And then I walked into this. So I just wanted to, kill 2-3 birds with one stone if I had the opportunity to see him. But unfortunately, as I said, I came and I had to dash to Kumasi last Saturday. I came Friday, late evening, and Saturday, first flight, I had to go to Kumasi. And as I said, when I went there, I suffered, unfortunately, the transition.
But you intend to tell him to the face?
Well, I will intend to engage him. I intend to engage him. If I had been the majority leader, I would certainly have engaged him. And we remain friends. So if something that I disagree with, he involves himself in that, I have to engage him. I will. Why not? He may agree with me or he may not agree with me, right? But I'm saying that I haven't changed my mind because of the imperatives of Article 97, 1, F, G, and H.
Do you see any, and although you haven't fully engaged the subject, you'll be traveling, I'm pretty sure you've been briefed and you paid attention. Do you see any factors at play in this current circumstance that may explain a shift in position? Because although the ultimate outcome is the same, there may be ingredients that may be different from what the previous two occasions. Do you see anything peculiar about this?
I'm just saying that is, you mean the change of stance?
Yes. But there may be factors that may account for the current position. As far as I'm concerned,
maybe
of both the party, remember, or both his party.
First of all, in the case of Moses Mabemba, the party wrote.
Yes.
Right.
In 2020, your party wrote.
In 2020, my party wrote. In this particular case, the parties have not written, not that I know of.
No, they haven't.
They haven't. So what is occasioning that? And apart from that, procedurally, I also disagree with him. Why? Because I'm told, and I believe same to be true, that, of course, outside I saw what the clip of what the Honorable Haruna had said at Tamale.
Yes.
That he was going to pray the speaker to give a proper interpretation to Article 97, right? To ensure that the people concerned, the MPs who had done what they had done, vacated their seats. He was going to pray. I listened to him. I was going to pray the speaker to for a proper interpretation of Article 97. We're talking about proper interpretation. The interpretation of the Constitution does not lie with the speaker. It lies with the Supreme Court. But the prayer, as I've been told, was in the form of a petition. And the petition, the speaker, when he went into conclave, the leadership related to it, that he had received this petition from Haruna Idrisu. Now the procedure for prosecuting a petition, whether it's from a group outside or from a member of parliament, howsoever it enters parliament, when it gets to the speaker will have to charge the member who brought or who is shepherding the petition to provide some illumination on that. And the procedure thereafter is that the speaker will refer the petition to the petitions committee.
This was in your old standing orders. It's in the new standing orders. But I sort of...
Yes, in fact, we have straightened it up in the new standing orders.
Yes.
The old standing orders, it was clumsy.
Yes.
Right? In fact, in the old standing orders, there was no petitions committee.
Yeah.
This time around, we've stated it and created a petitions committee that this is how it should be prosecuted. Now, I don't know of Haruna Idrisu being given the opportunity to, speak to his petition. I don't know of that.
So what happened was that the minority leader case after
I know, I'm coming there. If the speaker could, after maybe the petition had been heard, and he had said that he was giving a ruling on the petition, that could have been different. That could have been different. But my information is that as of yet, the petition has not yet been heard in plenary. So the speaker has not issued any directive on that. So what was the basis of the ruling from the speaker?
In his ruling, he references Atuforsen's statement on the floor.
Fair and fine. Statements are only informational. They provide information to the House. That's what statements do. It is why the orders provide that when a statement comes to be made, only comments are made. And if it is a statement that should occasion something, the speaker then will give a directive. Maybe if it's a commemorative statement of a certain event, comments are made and that's it. If it involves maybe a high-profile personality, maybe the person was involved in the events leading up to the Fourth Republic, or maybe even independence. When a statement is made to that effect, the speaker and comments have been made, a speaker could say that given the importance of this person. Could we invite maybe the Minister for Foreign Affairs to pray him to carry the message from Parliament to the President, or maybe the Majority Leader, as leader of government business, to persuade the President to have a state barrier for this person? That could be a directive. Or maybe let's say that some force majeure has occurred, a storm, severe flooding, some bridges have been washed away. The constituency from which a member of Parliament is coming, the member may come with a statement relating to the havoc of the flooding. Roads washed away, bridges and so on. After comments, the Speaker then may invite, cause the clerk to invite maybe the minister, the sector minister, to come and respond to this. What happens? Maybe Interior Minister. What should happen immediately to these people? How do we provide accommodation, shelter for them? And then the Minister for Roads. How are you going to resolve this? Because communities have been separated. They've been cut away from one another. So the Speaker will come with a directive that this should be done to salvage a particular situation. In my life, as a member of Parliament, rulings are not made on statements. So if the Speaker made the ruling on a statement, that procedurally was also wrong.
He was invited to do so.
Who invites who to make?
The minor leader invited.
He should have declined it, because if it is on account of a statement, it's because the statement is supposed to provide information. And if he wants something further to the statement to call on you to make a ruling, the Speaker ought to have declined it, because that will offend the procedure, the rules of the House. That's my understanding. I don't know of any jurisdiction where statements call for, the making of rulings.
But if procedurally he was wrong,
yes,
then there was recourse in your standing order to successfully challenge him on procedural grounds.
Well, I've had some discussions with the Majority Leader. I've had discussions with the Majority Leader, and this is one of the things. But you see, the Majority Leader himself, anticipating perhaps the turn of events if Parliament resumed, had taken the matter to the Supreme Court on account of what statement the Honorable had made. So he had gone to the Supreme Court.
Because he went to the Supreme Court before the Speaker actually delivered his ruling on the subject.
Yes, before Parliament resumed.
Yes,
he went to the Supreme Court, and the substance of it was that this is what this man has said. So he, as a Majority Leader, is the leader of the House. So he says, he praised the court that some of the MPs belonging to my own caucus and one to the other caucus have engaged in this. A declaration of intent to come to Parliament, the next succeeding Parliament, the 2025 Parliament, 2028 Parliament, right, on a ticket of maybe an independent person, or one of them on the ticket of the MPP. That declaration of intent, should it be construed as a vacation of seat? So he wants the Supreme Court to interpret what really is vacation of seat.
In the context of Article 97.
Yes, Article 97. Yeah. That is the bottom line of what he has done. I want you to really let us know, interpret for us what constitutes vacation of seat. In the context of a declaration of intent, would that amount to a vacation of seat? That is what the Majority Leader has done, right? So when he did that, the Speaker had not come with this. And so when the Speaker then came with the ruling, then he rushed to the Supreme Court that I have this matter before you.
Now injuncted.
Right. I have this matter before you. The Speaker has done this. Could you then injunct the execution of the content of the ruling? And I then heard some of my colleagues in Parliament, some members of Parliament, you know, resorting to the ridiculous that, oh, Parliament is an independent body, the judiciary is an independent body, they shouldn't interfere in what we do.
But the Supreme Court was taking on the political question.
The thing
and
is,
the jurisprudence for 40 years has been the courts shy away from doing that.
In our Parliament, in our republic, our Parliament is not supreme.
True, there's the supremacy of the Constitution.
The supremacy of the Constitution. That is why, even where the Constitution grants discretionary power to the Speaker, he's supposed to operate in tandem with the Constitution. That is the provision of Article 296. And indeed and in truth, Article 2 would suggest to you that if anybody does anything that is inconsistent with the Constitution, anybody could take the matter to the Supreme Court for interpretation, which is what the majority leader has done.
But it's also true that the Supreme Court and the courts generally have or tend to shy away from the subjects such as this because it's a political question. Parliament is a house of politics, partisan politics.
Please. When we first came, and Rawlings wanted to continue the ministers, the spillover ministers, he said he was continuing, so they should continue.
They went to court.
They went to court. J.H. Mensah went to court because it was a matter of national importance.
Yeah.
Did the court shy away from it?
They ruled on the subject.
They ruled on the subject matter.
Is the reason
because
why
it had to do with the constitutional interpretation.
Ministers' life terminate where the government wants
Absolutely. Absolutely. So don't tell me that, oh, we operate in a silo, the Supreme Court, even if murder is taking place in Parliament, the Supreme Court cannot enter the fray. I disagree with you, or any suggestion to that effect.
And you raise a point I wanted to come to very briefly before I take a quick break, which is that the Speaker, you say, erred procedurally.
Yes, in my view.
In your view.
Yes.
Should that have been part of the arsenals deployed by your side in challenging him in addition to the Supreme Court?
Well, the case that Afenyo, the majority leader, took to the Supreme Court was preemptive. These things had not played out. So they couldn't have been part of it.
After it played out, I mean?
After it played out, if he has to amend the raid.
Because he was there when
yes, after he played out, maybe he could go to amend it and include it. But that is.
But I'm talking about because challenging the Speaker on the basis of your belief that he has violated procedure in the standing orders would have transpired on the floor, does it not?
First of all,
when you after you've heard him render his ruling.
Yes. As I said, I've had some discussions with the majority leader. I wouldn't want to.
He agrees with you?
I wouldn't want to discuss that discussion here.
Was it on the subject of other ways of taking on what has happened?
The subject. I think that, for instance, the ruling of the Speaker was wrong, and so I think that he could challenge the ruling, right, even on the floor. It will be interesting. It will be interesting. If your ruling is challenged, you are conflicted. You cannot sit in your own cause, right? Who then should preside?
First or second?
The first or second. The second is also, a person who is caught in the same way.
He's an interested party.
He's an interested party, so he cannot preside.
Then you have the
In any event, the Speaker is saying that he declares his seat vacant.
But then
which matter really is still in abeyance, more or less. So it's the second Deputy Speaker then who should come and preside. Would the second Deputy Speaker agree with...
You mean the first Deputy Speaker?
Sorry, the first Deputy Speaker.
Joso Usu, your good friend.
Usu agree with what the Speaker has done. I think as far as
but that places that what you've just said, that sounds pretty strategic. That then takes the decision because of the challenge.
The Speaker cannot preside. I mean, if
takes it out of Alban Babing's hands into Joso Usu's hands.
Yes, if it's challenged. He cannot preside in his own cause. But we are not there. I mean, we are only conjecturing.
Yeah.
But these are matters.
That opportunity isn't exhausted, is it? That is still live. That's something that you can pursue.
It's still live. But the major thing is what the majority leader has done. And once it relates to a constitutional interpretation.
But it doesn't stop the
it doesn't. But I'm saying
procedural
that
issues in Parliament?
this is just, you know,
Was Parliament a master of its own rules?
It's a strand of it, right? Parliament is a master of its own rules.
Because you see,
Parliament is a master of its own rules to the extent that the majority agree. One person cannot just make a decision and say that, oh, Parliament is we are masters of our own rules, and so it should hold.
Did Afenyo Market agree
And
with
let me say that until the Supreme Court ruled that spillover ministers could not continue, their tenure had ended, the Parliament of 1997, the NDC MPs agreed that the ministers should continue. So even the majority could have agreed when the majority was wrong.
And yet the court overturned their decision whether they had the majority.
So, I mean, don't let anybody mislead himself saying that, oh, we are masters of our own rules. We are masters of our own rules to the extent that it conforms to the Constitution. Let me say that when the courts ruled that the ministers should come before Parliament for vetting, you know what happened? The NDC had overwhelming majority. They didn't come before the appointment committee. Parliament, the NDC, using their majority, had a resolution approved in Parliament that we approve of all of them. You see what happened?
Yeah.
Never again should these things happen.
Did Afenyo agree with you about the suggestions that you made to him about using parliamentary procedure to challenge the Speaker?
Well, as I'm saying, it's part of the discourse. The greater thing is before the Supreme Court. But let me say that yesterday I was humbled by the demeanor of the Speaker when he sat.
I want you to hold your horses there, because that's a subject I want to return to after the break. Because the Speaker, what the Speaker did was to adjourn the House indefinitely. That has implications too.
It has implications, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I'll come
I'm talking about his demeanor.
Yeah, because
in delivering
yes, he looks sober.
He looks
reflected
sober.
a bit more.
Yes, and reflected.
And they gave us a sense that he's consulted too and wants to do more consultation. I'll take a break. When I return, I'll ask his thoughts about that and its implications for government business. Remember, he was a man who was leading government business until recently. So government business before December 7. It's at stake here. I'll get his thoughts on that. And then why is he still the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs when he's not the majority leader? His thoughts after this. Thank you very much for staying with us here on PMX. I'm having a conversation with Osechi Mensah, and I dare say this is his first proper sit down since he left the leadership of the NPP side in the House as the majority leader. And so I'm interested in finding out his thoughts about what is happening, but also basically about Ghana's democracy. Remember that he's chaired the Manifesto Committee, so there's a lot there to also interrogate. But thank you for staying with us, James Sabonso. You said in the first part of the interview that on this controversial subject that's played out the last 2 weeks, if you were the majority leader, you would have engaged prior to this. This is something that you've been credited with. A lot of people mentioned this when they mentioned your name. What difference would that have made?
Well, nothing can take the place of engagement, jojoing, and trying to bring everybody on board. So regardless of the demeanor of a person, sometimes Alban, when he assumes a certain position, I'll allow some time to pass by, and I'll call him. Send him. Sometimes we call him, he will not pick. I send him several messages and tell him that I want to see you. You go sit down with him. He may disagree with you, but at least you would have given him your side, right? Sometimes he disagrees with you. The following day he comes and he's taking a middle ground. So nothing can take the place of engagement. And I don't know to what extent my colleague did it. And if he was purposed to do it and brushed him aside, I don't know.
When do you do it though? When you hear, because it took a preemptive step in the Supreme Court.
Yes.
You do it, and I'm asking you because of your experience, right? You do it when you've heard it, because you would have heard it, right? Because you have your ears to the ground. When do you start that engagement?
As far as this matter is concerned, look, I thought by the intentions that were declared by some of our compatriots, I knew that if it came to Parliament, when Parliament resumed, these things would play out. So maybe if I had been around, I would have consulted the leaders themselves, the minority leader, even Haruna. Why did you say what you said? Before touching base with the speaker, and then we all see what to do. Sometimes we push ourselves to the precipice, and like, the fight between two goats, they'll raise it and then settle it coolly when there should be collision, when we think that horns are going to break, and yet everything settles. So I'm just saying that nothing takes the place of engagement. But there are sometimes that people may not want to listen. If they may not want to listen, and we believe in the rule of law, then the law must take center stage. At a point I was getting worried because of the cacophony of agitations. Let's cite the Supreme Court for contempt. Hey, what is your own understanding of the law? Oh, let's drag the Chief Justice and cite her for contempt.
Contempt of Parliament.
Contempt of Parliament. I was wondering, what are you people thinking? Right? And the courts give a ruling, and some are saying that, the Speaker should disregard it. I was happy when the former Deputy Attorney General, the Honorable Dominic Ayine, stepped in to say that, no, we must obey the Supreme Court. I was happy.
And find other legal means of setting it aside.
Come again?
And find other legal means of setting it aside.
Precisely. If you disagree, Akufo-Addo in 2013, when we had the ruling from the court, he came out, had his own press conference, said, I disagree with what the courts have said, but I'm going to live with it.
And he took a long break.
And he took a long break. Yeah. If he had to appeal, he could have gone on appeal. Yeah. But he perhaps felt that it was going to be an exercise in futility if he had gone on appeal. So he left it. The recourse is still open to you. If you want to set it aside, you can go the whole hog and do whatever you want to do. But to say that the Speaker must disobey the Supreme Court, that was something. We believe in the rule of law. We make laws, we want people to obey them. And when the interpreters of the law tell us something, we say that we shouldn't obey. And then my friend and junior brother, Atufosin, was also hilarious. That, I'm the new majority leader. We are going to set aside
because that is still a matter in contention. I'll come to that.
There's no contention.
No, I'll come to that because
there's no contention. Let's settle it.
It's all.
There's no contention.
I want to just finish off on this bit about consultation.
Right.
Have you shared the benefit of that experience with Afenyo?
Oh, we talk, we chat. Even today, I was minded this evening to engage him. And that if he's around, I know he has a facility around where I live. That if he's around, we could even meet to have some further discussions.
He agrees to come and see?
No, I've told myself that I would do that.
Okay.
I've not yet called him today because of my own engagements. But today, tomorrow, I believe that we should find a way to meet and think through what the next step should be.
One of the biggest criticisms that against him is that one of his biggest flaws is that he doesn't consult as much as you do.
Well, I don't know of that.
You know him, he was your deputy for a long time.
No, I'm saying ever since he became the leader, if people are saying that he doesn't consult, maybe the people that he should be consulting are saying that he doesn't consult. I don't know of that, so I wouldn't want to venture into that. But I myself, I've been discussing matters with him. Sometimes he consults me as well. What do you think of this? And then, or sometimes on my own volition, I will call him and suggest to him that you may have to act this way or that way, given what may be coming.
How receptive is he to the suggestion that you make?
Very, very, very receptive. If he has some other opinion, he will also share with me that, okay, I take this one, but I intend to do this. You don't think this one should be done ahead of what you are suggesting? I mean, that kind of conversation.
And that?
And it's not only Afenyo Markin. I talk to my junior brother, Haruna Idrisu. I talk to
Keso.
Ato. Yeah. Right. That we should know that.
And that too is too overbearing sometimes, which antagonizes the other side.
Who is
Afenyo?
That is overbearing.
And antagonizes the other side instead of building bridges.
Well, I don't want to run commentary on something that has not come before me. If evidence is led to indicate that, and I have to comment on that, I will. But I don't know of that. And you are not leading evidence. You are just telling me that, oh, I've heard this comment. Because I'm not privy to whatever might have led to people concluding on that, I don't want to comment on that.
As we speak tonight, Parliament has been adjourned indefinitely. Nobody knows when Parliament is going to resume. Speaker hasn't given us what may even trigger that. Was that the best course of action yesterday?
Well, I want to believe that the Speaker is human. He has made a firm declaration. These four people, they no longer belong to Parliament, right? The courts are telling me I should hold my horses. What it means is that the Speaker, in other words, should swallow his own words, allow them to come and sit. He's human. He also has some pride. So maybe he decided to adjourn until the Supreme Court come up with their final determination. That is how I'm looking at it. So that once the Supreme Court come in to say that, no, you were wrong, you cannot expel them, and this is how it should be, right? Then he can then rely on the Supreme Court's ruling to say that even though I was convinced and persuaded in the course of my action, the Supreme Court are saying that this is what should be done. So on account of that, we are moving on.
Instead, he relies heavily on Article 104 of the Constitution,
which provides
there's quorum to do business,
yes,
but there isn't decision quorum,
right,
of at least half of all members of Parliament. He cites that, recites that.
Oh, really?
And yes,
that's something.
Yes, and
that's something.
Yes, and he references that quite heavily. And that's the reason why
that is something.
Tell me.
I'm saying that is something. You remember 2022?
Yeah. 2022,
when in the discussion of the principles of the budget, we left the chamber and they had 137. The Speaker ruled that the budget had been rejected by the 137, which was less than half of
all
members of Parliament on account of Article 104. And when I raised the issue, he said, oh, you left the chamber. You have not left the presence of Parliament, so you were counted. So why didn't he count those people who left the chamber? That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. You see, there needs to be consistency. Because if what was said in 2022 December, right, he believed in it, then the same principle should have been extended. Oh, you left the chamber, and so we can take a decision because you are still within the presence of Parliament. But I believe that when he said so, he himself didn't mean it. And yet he's going to do the harm that. That's my worry. Sometimes some of these things that he does.
So which one is the interpretation you agree with? This one?
This one. Because you see, 2022, when we came back, the Speaker's own ruling on the question that was put was on a Friday. So the following Tuesday when we came, and we did the right thing, I did not move a motion of rescission of a decision that had been purportedly taken by the House, because I knew that it's really offended Article 104. The NDC, assuming they had all 137 of them in the chamber, their number was less by one person of the half correct number that is required to take a decision. So when we came, I didn't move a motion of rescission. I said, I only commented on it that what was done, purportedly done, was unconstitutional. I don't want to go into it. There was no decision. Now, today we are taking the decision. And we took the decision with the 138. So that is the funny thing. And yet, that one caused a major uproar in the country, presided over by Right Honorable Bagbin. Was he right? Remember the matter in respect of he saying that deputy speakers cannot vote. The CMA presiding, and the NDC, strengthened by the declaration of the Speaker, rushed on him to remove his seat.
Again, eventually the Supreme Court decided that.
Again, eventually the Supreme Court decided against it. I remember when he came before the Supreme Court's ruling, he said Joe Osei-Wusu, the first deputy speaker, had disagreed with him. When he came to preside, he said that was insubordination on the part of the first deputy speaker. The Supreme Court rules that the speaker was wrong. So who was being insubordinate to the Constitution?
On this.
So, but these are matters. That is why I think that, you see, the speaker has tremendous experience as a member of parliament. And he's a lawyer by profession of considerable standing. So sometimes I wonder that these things, are they deliberate?
You think they are?
Or he's ignorant of it. He cannot, as far as I'm concerned, he cannot.
So you're settling on deliberate?
So what is informing these things?
What do you think is informing these things?
The same Article 97 that we are talking about. You remember the case of members, some members who had missed sitting for more than 15 days.
Yeah.
And he raised the matter from his chair and referred their conduct to the Privileges Committee. Remember that day, the Honorable Muntaka had an altercation with him on the floor, that he as a speaker could not do that.
Called him a tyrant, I remember.
No. That was not it.
Yes, you're right on that.
That was not it.
But he challenged
the speaker.
The referral to the...
The speaker, Suomoto, could not do what he did. But he referred their conduct to the Privileges Committee. On the face of Article 97, 1C, is the Privileges Committee that makes a determination. Once the person is not able to satisfy them, once they make the determination, a vacancy is created. When they came with the report, the speaker said no. The report must be voted on in plenary by all of us. I, for instance, disagreed. I said no. And he said, well, the Privileges Committee is a committee of Parliament. They cannot take a decision for on behalf of Parliament. So I went with him to Article 106, Clause 13, which requires or which obligates a committee to determine any matter that come before it, especially in the case of the consideration of a bill, as an urgent bill. And once the committee makes a determination, that is it. They make a determination that is binding on all of us. Article 177, Clause 1, is the Finance Committee that allows, upon listening to the Finance Committee, the Finance Minister, allows them to take money from the contingency fund. They commit the entire House. The Speaker said, no, a committee cannot do that on behalf of you. So when I walked him through these things, he still insisted. You know, that matter is still before the Supreme Court for determination. Again, when we first started, it had to do with even my own status. He said I wasn't the majority leader. I was a co-leader with the minority leader in the House, and that there was a hung parliament. I disagreed with him. I said, you see, the concept of a hung parliament is that the parliament is divided right down the middle. 200 members, 100 to the left, 100 to the right. And there are consequences. In a hung parliament, where you have co-leaders, they share the leadership. Sometimes one could say that you are the majority leader for 2 years in a 4-year tenure parliament. You are the majority leader for 2 years. This person, the minority leader, then shifts to the. Sometimes they do it 1 year after the other. There are consequences. So I told the speaker, yes, we have a very slim margin of 1, but then a margin of 1 is still a majority. The Honorable Titus Grover, several thousands of people have voted. He won by 3 votes. He could have won by a single vote.
Yeah, first past the post.
First past the post. Then you translate that to mean that they are co-members of Parliament from Tema East because he won by 1 vote.
As we speak now,
right?
Who is the majority and who is the minority in the House? Where do you stand on that?
Let me even say, yes, I think I've related to it, the passage of the budget by 137, and we come in to overturn it.
I found your marking yesterday.
Yes. To the extent that the courts have, injuncted what the Speaker said, the implementation of what he said, Afenyo-Markin is still the majority leader.
So when the Afenyo-Markin and his team sat on the Speaker's right-hand side, where you normally would say there's a majority that when you were there, they were wrong?
They said
they sat.
The Afenyo-Markin sat on the right-hand side.
Case of Attoforsen, actually, I mean.
Yes.
Sat on the right side of the Speaker.
You were wrong.
They were wrong.
Because that was in flagrant disregard to what the Supreme Court had said. That executing, implementing what the Speaker had said should be held in abeyance until the final determination of the matter.
That means that you, by extension, agree that on the day the Speaker delivered that ruling, they were in the majority, the NDC side.
See, the Speaker was cautious.
In the interim...
I'm saying, the Speaker was cautious. I didn't hear him say that, on account of this, the majority has shifted to this. He claimed
yeah, by implication.
he claimed the victory.
Yeah.
That, by what you have said, then I see myself as the new
Which
majority.
is, of course, the implication of what the Speaker said.
Which is even wrong. Which is even wrong. Why? Because it says our rules determine who should be the majority leader. Assuming that a new situation had arisen, then the caucus will go into conclave and say that, well, this is our new, our leader. You don't just stand up and say that I have claimed the
but
leadership.
he was a leader at the time that the situation arose.
Notwithstanding, it was a different dispensation. Now there's a new dispensation. You require your people to maybe revest authority in you as their recognized leader. That had not been done. But that is in the lighter vein.
What happens between now and...
Because when he then went on to say that they were going to set aside the laws that had been made, the laws that they did, so he, more or less assuring Ghanaians that tomorrow these things will be things of the past. I laughed at my colleague. Do you know the process of lawmaking? How is a law made? I think 106 will tell you that, yes, you made a law. Until it's assented to by the president, there is no law. So assuming you were even able to overturn it, you require the signature of the president.
But you don't need the signature of the president to repeal an act of parliament.
Come again?
Repeal does not need the signature of the president. They wanted to repeal the levy as one of the things they would have done.
You don't need the president to assent to it.
Once you repeal the levy, which is an act in force, they can repeal it without going to the president.
Who says?
Well, that's what the lawyers say, that the repeal of an act doesn't require the signature of the president.
When you lay something and you withdraw, you see, usually the repeal of an act is led by maybe the sector minister.
True.
Yes, and he comes preparatory to a new act that is maybe in the works. Or sometimes when it is introduced, then he says that this repeals it. That is when the new law comes into place. If you repeal it and there's nothing, it creates void.
But that's what he wanted to do.
It creates a void. Yeah. That then would mean that outside that, no taxes should be.
The only thing that would happen is e-levy ceases to exist.
When you have it as part of the budget, which you have approved.
Yeah, but
which you have approved.
Governments repeal taxes all the time.
I'm saying.
And not necessarily
then you come with a new way of making up. Because
you
have passed the appropriations bill. You have passed the appropriations bill.
Let me ask you though, between now and whenever Parliament is recalled, what should happen? Your colleague, Afenyo, had said yesterday that they want to trigger the processes in the Constitution to get at least 41 signatures to compel a recall. Good strategy?
I think I've already told you about the difficulty the Speaker was facing, which is why he said it was adjourning sine die. I would have thought that in conclave, because the Speaker said that he had discussed this with the leadership, as provided by the rules, the standing orders.
You can't adjourn the House indefinitely unless you have they're discussing with them.
Yes, he says they are discussing with them. But what Afenyo Markin is saying, the speaker never discussed it with them. Or at least never discussed it with him. Was the speaker right then or wrong? That's another matter. So he seemed to say that, well, maybe he was to adjourn for maybe 1 or 2 or 3 days. Or to say that we are adjourning pending the determination of the case.
He didn't say that too.
He didn't say that too. And that makes it difficult. Don't forget there are many outstanding matters, including, I'm told, the instrument that relates and regulates the elections. So how are the elections going to be conducted if we decide not to summon Parliament again? And elections should happen latest on the 7th of December. Or is it intended to create a constitutional crisis such that the elections cannot hold? These are matters that we should be thinking of. In fact, even before Parliament was summoned to meet the last time, on the when was it? 15th, right? In my discussion with the Speaker, I was urging him to summon Parliament either on the 1st of October or not later than the 8th of October. Why? Because, you see, in election years, the Parliament would not sit beyond 7th November. That is exactly 1 month before the conduct of elections. Everybody will want to be in the field. So the practice has been that not later than 7th November, the third meeting should end. And if there are matters to be transacted, they will be transacted within that time. So if the Speaker had summoned Parliament on the 1st of November, then the CIA from the EC, if it was to be introduced, will find accommodation within the space of time. Then he indicated to me that, he was outside and gave me the indication that, well, maybe 8th could be possible. So I thought that, okay, between 8th and the 7th of November, the worst case scenario, maybe they could conscript 1 or 2 Mondays to meet on them to make up for the 21 sitting days. That didn't happen. You come on the 15th, and as I'm saying, the practice is that it doesn't go beyond the 7th. Now I'm told that even the instrument, I don't know whether it's been laid or not. If it's not been laid, we are imperiling the conduct of the elections. If it's been laid, and that by practice Parliament may not go beyond 7th November, what are we doing?
So whether it's been laid or not, we are possibly approaching a crisis situation on this.
Yes. And that is why it's important for Parliament to sit, even if not to transact any business, at least to allow for the running of the days. That, okay, because we have to satisfy this, Parliament will sit, not transact any other business, apart from ensuring that the CI would mature in good time to enable us to conduct our elections. You know, so that is one of my greatest fear. Now, what are we doing?
How do you cure that?
How do we cure that?
Afenyo says they want to get the signatures to compel. That a good strategy?
My worry, and the Speaker has done it. You know, the last time they garnered the requisite number of signatures, what happened? Whereas the Constitution provides that within 7 days after he receives it, he must summon Parliament. The Constitution does not provide when Parliament should be summoned. It says when he receives it, within 7 days he must act to summon Parliament. Right?
But he can summon Parliament on
1 month after.
December 7th or November.
1 month after.
Yeah.
That's the difficulty, which is what mischief the new standing orders sought to cure. That once he has it, he must act within 14 days. That is worst case scenario. But if it's an emergency, like let's say that...
You think this is? You think
it is an
disqualifies
emergency. Yes. What we are relating to now, it's an emergency. And you see, because of what is happening in the north, the Boundaries Commission's bill must be passed expeditiously.
What's happening in the north? Very briefly.
Oh, you know, the threats coming from the north of the jihad.
The instability.
The instability there.
The Sahel.
We need really to have a determination of our boundaries to enable our forces to really be able to protect us. That bill is there. We haven't done it. So it's important that we attend to it. The other one that also comes to mind is the vote on account. I'm not too worried about that, even though that is very, very important. I'm saying that I'm not too worried about that because it is the first quarter of 2025. And as far as that one is concerned, we could deal with it after the conduct of the elections. That's after December 7th, between December 7th and maybe...
and there's precedent to that?
Yes, there's precedent. But that also depends on the outcome of the elections. It depends on the outcome of the elections. If the outcome is inconclusive, and there'll have to be a second round.
Go all the way to 29th, possibly.
That's another problem. So, given the exigencies, it may be better to do it before the conduct of the elections. Because this is one election that all manner of experts, professionals, are saying is going to be very dicey. Right? That for now, earlier, the readings on the wall were that one particular party, one particular presidential candidate was ahead. But the gap is closing and closing and closing.
I mean, that's the subject I'll come to. I'll come to the election shortly. So on the subject of the indefinite adjournment, you disagree with the speaker? You don't think it's in national interest?
I think that giving the currency of matters, especially with the CI and as I said, some of these bills, the speaker could have agreed with them that okay, because the Boundaries Commission bill, for instance, I together with Agaga, Roxanne, Anyimedu, and others sat down and straightened up things. So if it comes to Parliament, I believe they will not take more than 2 days to finish it up. In the meantime, the instrument will be running. So they could have determined with the leadership that given the fact that these things are not conclusive, we have to wait for the Supreme Court. But these are matters that we can deal with. So let's deal with 1, 2, 3 matters, right? Until the determination, right? And we agree and then do it. So I think that there's still time to have some dialogue on
then
this.
I believe
I myself, I think it's incumbent on me to reach out to the speaker and at least have some chat with him on these
So
matters.
you prefer that he recalls Parliament by himself and not being compelled through the constitutional provision?
Well, I'm saying that, you see, if at least to calm down matters, if he did it on his own volition, it would be better.
But if he doesn't do it?
If he doesn't do it and he has to be compelled, he has to be compelled. He receives it and says that, okay, I have within 2 weeks to act. And then...
That still doesn't deal with the crisis and the emergency that you've talked about.
And that is why I'm saying that all men and women of goodwill who can reach out to him should reach out to him and talk to him.
To recall Parliament?
To recall Parliament.
Still talking to Osechi Mensah. I'm going to take a quick break. When I return, there are other issues we need to talk about. I want to talk about the elections, obviously. Where has he been? Now he has more time on his hands than he used to. Has he been campaigning? And what are his own thoughts on the potential outcome of this year's elections? Stay with us. And thank you for staying with us. It's still PM Express. My guest is still Osechi Mensah. Mr. Mensah, so you are still the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, but you're not the Majority Leader. That's a ministerial position reserved, at least by practice, for the Majority Leader.
Now, I think we have been discussing these matters, and I'm a minister now at the presidency.
You're the minister of the presidency.
Yes.
But that hasn't been communicated to Parliament.
I don't know, but I should think.
That sounds to me like unconstitutional.
How?
And especially that we just finished talking about J.H. Mensah.
What is unconstitutional?
The definition of your ministry and its very composition is a subject that was formally brought to the attention of Parliament.
Yes.
You were vetted for
Yes.
and approved by the House.
Are you saying reshuffling is not allowed?
Well, if you reshuffled and your ministry is changed, you have to go back for vetting.
Who says?
Well, J.H. Mensah went to court. We just talked about it.
No. When the term of Parliament is over, and then there's another Parliament.
That's one. But we also know that when you're reshuffled and you're changed, that was a subject recently.
No.
In Parliament.
It's never happened.
Controversial.
It's never happened.
Those who had been completely reshuffled into different ministry should come for vetting.
No, I have always
raised it. Yes, in fact, it was you who raised it. Yes, in my last interview with you. That's one of the things you're proposing should happen.
In the new constitutional amendment, in the review. Yeah. But we're not there yet.
Okay, so
you cannot jumpstart it.
I remember my last conversation with you. Yes. But the substantive question, though, is that you are still the minister when you're not the majority leader.
Well,
why?
The majority leader should be a minister. He should be a minister. And if you ask me, not just a minister, he should be a cabinet minister. Why? The majority leader, to the extent that your party controls the executive, right? You are the leader of government business, right? You are the leader of government business. And if you are the leader of government business, you cannot be a leader of government business when the arena for fashioning government business, you are not part of it.
Which is cabinet.
Which is cabinet. How do you convince your compatriots, the people that you lead, to appreciate the policy and opinions of whatever government is bringing to Parliament when you are not part of it and you don't understand? And that being the case, if you are not a minister, as a leader of government business, if you are not a minister, you can't even present papers from cabinet to Parliament because you're not a minister. They are reserved for ministers. And so when papers for presentation is announced, the majority leader has to look over his shoulders to see whether there's a minister there and tell him that, can you come and present this paper on behalf of the government to Parliament? What is his own role? So I think that the majority leaders, to the extent that their parties control the executive, should be ministers.
So why is Afanyo Market not in this position then?
Well,
and you are.
That is something that we can discuss subsequently.
Well, I don't think we should. We should discuss it now. You've actually laid the foundation to justify why he should be a non-leader.
Because I don't know why he's not clamoring for that. I don't know why.
Well, you are occupying the position.
I'm not occupying the position.
You're like factually so.
I'm not occupying the position.
This building is the Ministry for Parliamentary Affairs. I mean, although he has other,
don't forget, did you see what inscription is in front of the building?
Tell me.
You should have seen it. Office of the President Annex. That is what is there. Yeah. Really, the building was put up for the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs. Yeah. And then when Professor Mills entered the fray, I was persuaded to render comatose the ministry. It was taken over by cadres and so on and so forth. That's why they rechristened it Office of the President.
But substantively, you are in this position. Afanyo Market cannot occupy.
Oh, no, that's not it.
Why haven't you left the position?
Why haven't I left the position as a minister?
Yeah.
No, it's not for me to make myself a minister. It's the president who appoints. Well, and I'm just saying that and it's not.
You've just argued that the majority leader must be the Minister of Parliamentary Affairs. That's my position. Yeah, so Afanyo must be.
No, I've not said so.
No, you said the position.
I said the minister, the majority leader
must be, because it makes sense.
A cabinet minister.
Yes. And
perhaps not necessarily as a Minister for Parliamentary
Affairs. But that's the only route now, at least. I'm just saying that not necessarily. Yes.
You can have him as a minister of state, right, who would have cabinet ranking, right? So I'm just saying that he should be part of cabinet.
Yes, I
as
get
a
it.
substantive minister.
But we are speaking the reality of now, which is that the only route to do that is through the position you currently occupy.
I will not add to it or subtract from it. I wouldn't want to make further comment. Because you are cocooned in your thinking that.
I'm just asking for an explanation why he isn't and you are.
I'm saying that I need to discuss it with him why, because that is my position.
But you've been out of leadership.
Yes.
For months now.
Yes. So I should have known why he's not.
Absolutely.
Evans. You have reminded me of a deficit. I will cure that. So today we're engaging. I told you that I need to engage him today, tomorrow on some matters. So this will be one of the issues that I will discuss with him.
Let's talk about politics.
Yeah.
You have just over 40 days to go before the big vote. You are not in the race, but you have a horse in it, the MPP, and Bawumia. Are you on the field campaigning?
I just indicated to you that these past few weeks, what I've been doing. But when I came back, in fact, before I went to Geneva on account of the Parliament of Ghana, I was with the second lady on her rounds in Ashanti. I left midstream to go and render this national service. I'm back, and I certainly will be joining the fray now that I'm back.
Okay, final
there's a little matter that I must respond to. The president wants me to undertake an assignment for him, I think over this weekend. So once I'm through with it and I come back, certainly it will be full swing. And the last 3 weeks or so, I'll be everywhere with the prime personality.
You are the underdogs in this race. You believe? Yes, you are.
Yes. We used to be.
Well, you are still the underdogs in this race.
Historically, yes.
Yes, I mean, the current conditions, etc., says you are not just the underdog, you are a significant, heavy underdog in the race. You believe you can turn this around?
I believe so. I don't know where you are drawing your inspiration from using this very hard adjectives.
You are the heavy underdogs.
Heavy underdogs. Yeah. I don't know where you draw your inspiration from.
Where do you draw your inspiration from to say
I'm drawing my inspiration from facts and figures available to me.
What facts and figures are these?
I know. I've seen the surveys that have been done, the researches that have been done. And I'm talking to the figures that I'm seeing.
Yeah, but the point is, your own surveys, are they credible?
No. It's not my own service. It's the party's own service.
So what surveys are these?
It's coming from, interested parties, major stakeholders in the fortunes of Ghana. And I've seen the figures. I've seen the figures. And look, if elections had held last year, before the holding of our primaries, it would have been, a no contest for the NDC.
A complete wipeout.
A no contest for the NDC. That's mid-2023. Even until we elected our flag bearer, the kind of divisiveness and the language that was being employed by some people, some of whom were even in the race, really, they were not filtering their statements. And it was really doing some considerable, causing some internal bleeding in the party. So maybe by the close of even last year, if elections had held, the NDC would have really had a very heavy margin of victory. I've seen the figures first quarter this year, and I saw that the lead of the principal person for the NDC has been plummeting. June, it comes down. September, it's down. Look, this election is going to be determined by what happens the next 1 month or 1.5 months ahead of us. I'm telling you. And whereas Bawumia is coming out with sharp solutions, bold solutions, our compatriot, he cannot reinvent
I mean, which
himself.
figures is this? Because I've seen, you talk about independent, neutral parties, of course, watching on and doing their own polling. But I've seen Fitch predict that NDC will win this. I've seen the Economic Intelligence Unit report. So where are you getting these figures from?
When was it done?
I mean, the last one,
when was it done?
The Fitch one was in the last couple of months.
When was it done?
In the last couple of months. The
It
Fitch
was
one,
released.
I think, if I'm
It
not
was
mistaken,
released
the last
about a month ago.
When
was the survey itself done? That's what you should be speaking to.
When was your survey done?
Oh, are you responding to my question with another question?
No, I saw the results a month ago. You saying, of course, it was collected
I'm asking you
before that, which
when
is
was
fair.
it done?
I can't tell you that as I speak.
Precisely.
But I've mentioned my sources that say that you are losing the election. You say you were winning.
Yes.
And what's your source?
And I don't need to disclose my source to you.
But you must. I told you
that
I've
given you a hint that it's made up of interested parties, major stakeholders in the affairs of Ghana. Independent, objective,
Fitch
analysis.
is independent. The Economic Intelligence Unit is independent. They all qualify based on your own criteria just laid out.
I'm asking you a simple question. That some results have been made available now.
Maybe let me clarify. Is this from another state?
Another state being what?
Another countries interested, of course, in our affairs?
Is Fitch a local player?
No.
You believe that?
What I mean is...
You believe that? Is Fitch a local player?
It's not a local player.
You believe that?
Yeah, it's not
you want to believe player. That their research, their polling will be beyond reproach.
They should be, yes, because of the track record.
Okay. I will tell you that my source, also not local players, they are not politically tainted.
Is it governmental or private?
I refuse to catch your bait.
It isn't a bait, it's a question. Fitch is private, of course not from this jurisdiction. EIU obviously is Economic Intelligence Unit. Again, it's private, but not from this jurisdiction. Your source, is it private or government?
I don't need to disclose that to you.
I asked that, obviously.
But I believe what they have done.
You believe what they've done?
I'm not saying what it has done, what they have done.
Those behind the
Thank you
figures
very much
you're mentioning.
on that.
Is it a CIA?
CIA, FBI.
They do polling too. They are interested
Okay. What's the Russian counterpart? Mention that one as well.
That's KGB.
KGB. None of the above.
Okay.
None of the above.
But that's where you're drawing your confidence from.
Yes. And I believe so. Because, as I said, they didn't hide any facts. And last year, what I saw, I believed that they had a poll lead. Right? And then, when they got there, ever since, they've been climbing down.
Are you winning both parliament and the presidential?
And the Premier is climbing up and up and up and up.
Are you winning both parliament and presidential according to this poll you seen?
Yes.
Okay. Osei Mensah, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
December 7th.
Will be Judgment Day.
Yes.
Will be Judgment Day.
Yes.
Right.
We'll see. Enjoy the rest of your evening. This has been PM Express.